Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take complex sources, pull out the key insights, and bring them straight to you. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something called platform thinking. It's a concept that could really, change how organizations build and deliver products. We're mainly drawing from Sam Robertstad's article, Platform Thinking for PMs, Build Once, Win Twice, which is parts of the product leader's playbook.
So have you ever had that feeling like you're just doing the same work again and again? You had different teams, basically building identical features, maybe just a slightly different coat of paint each time.
Oh, absolutely.
Today, we're looking at how to break that cycle, how to get away from that redundant work and start building real leverage. Yeah, it makes me think of that quote by Michael Oakeshott. He talked about politics, but it fits product development so well. He said, "Men sail a boundless and bottomless sea. There is neither harbor for shelter nor floor for anchorage." That really captures it, doesn't it? This complexity we face. A lot of companies, they get stuck in feature-first thinking. It's like they're constantly looking for the nearest, quickest harbor, solving just one problem at a time without really having a map or a compass for the whole journey.
That's a great analogy, and that's exactly what we want to unpack today. Our mission here is to get a solid handle on platform thinking. What exactly is it? Why does it matter so much right now? And crucially, how can it help teams stop just churning out features and start building that leverage? I'm really interested in how this helps organizations move faster, deliver, more consistent value. But maybe before we dive into the how, could you give us a really concrete example of this feature factory problem, something people might recognize instantly?
Sure thing. Let's take a scenario that probably feels familiar to a lot of listeners.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Imagine, say, your team builds a mobile checkout flow. Takes maybe 6 weeks. Then, a couple of months down the line, the web team needs something similar for desktop. They estimate 8 weeks because, you can't just reuse the mobile code.
Right. Different platform, different stack, maybe.
Exactly. And then, fast forward 6 months, and the API team needs another version for API customers. It's the same core problem, the same basic function, just a different interface, but it's a whole new build cycle.
And everyone just kind of nods along.
Yeah.
So build it again. Version 2.0 of the same thing.
Yep.
That is the hidden cost of only thinking feature first. It's quite insidious. See, each individual team feels like they're moving fast. They ship something. Delivery feels good. But the organization as a whole is actually moving pretty slowly.
Because you're duplicating effort.
Precisely. While your company is building 3 versions of one capability, maybe your competitor builds 3 different capabilities with that same amount of effort.
Mm-hmm.
The source calls this velocity illusions, which then become drag multipliers.
Velocity illusions. I like that. It feels fast, but it's actually slowing you down overall.
Exactly. It's like compound interest, but working against you. The more you duplicate, the faster this hidden debt grows, and nobody really sees it because they're just celebrating the individual feature launches.
And the result is this completely predictable organizational debt. You've got duplicated code all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
You get these fragmented customer experiences because, Team A interpreted it slightly differently than Team B.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the technical maintenance costs just multiply. It's a real mess.
It absolutely is. And the numbers back this up. Research from high-performing product orgs. It's pretty stark. Teams working in these feature silos spend, on average, 40% more time just on maintenance.
40%?
Yeah. And they see 60% longer development cycles when they need to build something that spans across platforms. Plus, they need about 25% more engineering resources to get the same result compared to teams using platform approaches.
Wow.
That right there is the feature factory problem in a nutshell.
Okay, that really lays out the problem clearly. So, given all that pain, why now? What makes platform thinking especially critical in today's environment?
Well, there are really 3 big forces converging right now. First, you've got the rise of API-first architectures. It's just technically easier now to build capabilities that can be reused.
Okay, the tech enablers are there.
Second, customer expectations have shot up. People expect consistency, whether they're on mobile, web, wherever. So that fragmentation we talked about, it's much more costly today in terms of user experience.
Right. Inconsistencies really stand out now.
And third, think about the complexity. Teams are building for mobile, web, maybe voice interfaces, API integrations, trying to manage all that without some kind of systematic foundational platform underneath. It gets incredibly complex really fast.
Yeah, I can see that. A good example I've seen is like a big company with separate notification systems.
Mm-hmm.
One for email, one for in-app messages, another for push notifications, maybe SMS too.
Mm-hmm. Classic example.
So each one has its own logic, its own templates, its own tracking. Then a compliance rule changes.
And suddenly 4 different teams are scrambling to update 4 different systems.
Exactly. And forget about giving customers unified preferences across all those channels. It becomes a technical nightmare because there's no common ground.
Right. Now, contrast that with the platform approach. You build one unified messaging capability. It handles routing notifications to the right channel, email, push, whatever. It manages templates centrally. It gives you consistent analytics.
So more upfront investment, presumably.
Yes, definitely a higher
Yeah.
initial investment, but the returns compound over time. Need to add a new channel, need a new message type, new compliance rule. You extend the platform systematically. You're not doing parallel, redundant builds anymore. It goes back to that Oakshot analogy. The feature-first folks are always looking for the nearest, quickest harbor for today's storm. Platform thinkers are building the navigation systems, the capabilities to handle whatever waters they might encounter later.
Hey, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Because this platform leverage, it's not just theory, right? The source has some great real-world examples, like the Amazon pricing service. That's a big one.
Huge one. Yeah, instead of every division, retail, Kindle, AWS, you name it, building their own pricing logic, Amazon invested in creating a single unified pricing service that could support all of them.
And the payoff.
It was substantial. Things like 75% less development time needed for pricing when launching new products.
Wow.
They could run pricing experiments simultaneously across different parts of the business. Compliance updates, tax rules do it once, it applies everywhere, and maybe most importantly, allowed them to build a level of pricing sophistication that just would have been way too expensive to replicate individually for every single use case.
That makes sense. And Netflix's recommendation engine is another one, right?
Absolutely. Same core algorithms, same infrastructure powering suggestions, whether you're watching on your browser or your phone, your smart TV, your game console.
Right. It's consistent everywhere.
And that platform investment let them optimize those recommendations globally, not just tweak them piece by piece. It reduced the complexity of managing all those different devices while actually making the experience better and more consistent for users. It's about optimizing the whole system.
And let's look at the flip side, too. The companies without this thinking, if you have separate web and mobile checkouts, the source points out you basically have 100% duplication for critical stuff.
Like fraud detection logic, payment processing integrations, order management.
Yeah. So every time compliance changes, you update 2 systems. Every performance tweak, you do it twice.
And you inevitably get those inconsistencies in the customer experience because the web team prioritizes feature X while the mobile team prioritizes feature Y in the checkout flow.
It sounds exhausting, honestly.
It is. And that's the difference platform thinking makes. You invest upfront in these core capabilities that scale, instead of just shipping features that create this ongoing, duplicated maintenance burden.
Okay, so we get the why. It avoids waste, enables scale, improves consistency. Let's get practical now. The source lays out this really helpful framework for PMs, a kind of 3-stage model to help decide, when is it okay to just build fast and when should you really invest in making something reusable? It's called feature, then capability, then leverage.
Yeah, you nailed it. It's a great way to think about it. So stage 1 is feature. This is all about delivering fast. Think tactical solutions built for just one specific context, like a banner just for web notifications, or an onboarding flow just for the mobile app, maybe an admin tool for one internal team.
Speed is the priority.
Exactly. Speed to market, immediate value. The key thing here is that these features create very limited optionality for the future. You build a feature when the problem's well understood, the context is very specific, and you just need to get something out the door quickly.
Okay, makes sense. Then stage 2.
Stage 2 is capability. This is where you start abstracting for reuse. It happens when you see patterns emerging, or maybe when a clear second use case pops up for something you build as a feature. So that web banner might evolve.
Right. It could become part of a broader messaging service that handles web, mobile, email notifications, or that mobile onboarding flow. Maybe it becomes a more general, progressive disclosure framework you can use elsewhere.
More upfront work here, I assume.
Definitely. Higher upfront investment because you're designing for more than one situation.
Yeah.
You need to make it flexible, but also simple enough that other teams actually want to use it. And the critical rule here, the source emphasizes this, is wait for real demand. You need at least 2 different contexts, 2 real use cases, ideally with committed teams, before you build a capability.
Why wait? Why not be proactive?
Because premature abstraction is dangerous. You end up building complex things nobody actually needs yet, adding overhead without value. Wait for the pull.
Got it. Wait for the pull. Okay, stage 3. Stage 3 is leverage. This is where the magic happens. You have these well-designed capabilities, and now they're being deployed across multiple surfaces, maybe multiple teams, different customer segments. This is where you get compound returns. The value you get starts to far exceed the marginal cost of adding another use case.
So teams move faster.
Teams move faster because the core building blocks are already there. Customer experiences get much more consistent because everyone's using the same underlying capability. Technical quality often improves too because these platforms get dedicated attention. Think about that messaging capability example again. If it supports, say, 5 notification types across 3 platforms, that's potentially 15 different value combinations you're enabling from one core effort. That's leverage.
15 combinations from one effort. Okay, that paints a very clear picture. This sounds incredibly powerful, but the big question, how do you actually do it? It feels like a massive shift for many organizations. What are the practical steps?
It absolutely is a shift. And it takes, well, strategic patience, but also real tactical discipline. First, you need to think about platform maturity by organizational stage. You don't apply the same strategy everywhere. A startup probably needs to be feature first to learn quickly. Growth stage, start looking for those obvious duplications, maybe build a platform for authentication or analytics.
And bigger companies.
Scale stage companies should be thinking about systematic platform architecture for core functions. Enterprises often need more formal governance, maybe even internal SLAs for their platforms. Tailor the approach.
Okay, so match strategy to stage. What's next?
Identify platform opportunities. Actively look for those functional patterns cropping up across different teams or product. Common ones are things like authentication, notifications, search, analytics, payments, maybe content management, user settings.
How do you spot them?
The signal is usually pretty clear. Different teams solving similar problems in different ways. Do an audit. How many login systems do you really have? How many ways are you tracking analytics? Each duplication is a potential platform opportunity.
Right, hunt down the duplication.
Then, crucially, design for adoption. This is so important and often gets missed. A platform is useless if nobody uses it. You have to treat internal teams as your customers. Their developer experience is paramount.
Make it easy for them.
Easier than building it themselves. Platform APIs need to be simpler to use than rolling their own solution. Documentation should let someone integrate in hours, not days or weeks. And you need a clear value proposition for those consuming teams. Does it make them faster? Improve their UX consistency? Reduce their maintenance load? Enable something they couldn't build alone?
So sell the benefits internally.
Absolutely. Next, govern for scale. You need to balance stability for the teams already using the platform with flexibility to adapt to new needs. Things like API versioning for backward compatibility are key, and create strong feedback loops. The source actually suggests platform teams should spend maybe 30% of their time working directly with the teams consuming their platform.
30%? Wow, that's significant.
It shows the importance of staying connected to the actual users of the platform.
Okay, what about resistance? That feels inevitable.
Oh, yeah. Navigate organizational resistance. This is often the biggest hurdle, and it's usually organizational, not technical. Teams are used to building your own stuff. They might resist depending on another team's platform. Not invented here. Syndrome is real. Fear of dependencies.
So how do you counter that?
Transparency is key. Show the current cost of duplication, the maintenance hours, the duplicated development cycles, the customer inconsistencies you documented earlier. Demonstrate the platform's value clearly. Maybe start with a pilot project with a couple of willing early adopter teams to build momentum and success stories.
Show, don't just tell. Makes sense. And finally,
measure platform value. And this is different from measuring the ROI of a single feature. You need to track things like reuse multipliers. How many contexts are using this capability? If your messaging platform supports 10 notification types, that's potentially 10x leverage. If your auth system serves 15 apps, that's 15x leverage.
so quantify the reuse.
Quantify the reuse, monitor how it impacts the velocity of the teams using the platform, and measure the reduction in technical debt as you consolidate those older duplicated systems. These benefits compound, so track them over time.
This is incredibly thorough, quite the roadmap. But are there common traps people fall into, especially around measurement? Like, how do you stop teams just chasing a reuse multiplier KPI by building platforms nobody really needs or uses effectively?
That's a really sharp point. Vanity metrics are always a risk, right? The key is that the reuse metric can't just be a count. It has to be tied to actual adoption and, ideally, proven value for the teams using it.
How do you prove that value?
Well, if the platform team is genuinely spending that 30% of their time embedded with consuming teams, they'll know pretty quickly if what they build is helpful or just elegant shelfware. Real adoption shows up in the consuming team's own metrics. Their development velocity improves, their customer consistency scores go up, their tech debt related to that function goes down. It's about the downstream outcomes, not just the platform team's output.
Got it. Focus on the impact on the consumers. Okay, so we've covered when and how to build platforms. What about the flip side? When is platform thinking actually the wrong approach?
Yeah, it's just as important to know when not to build one because, like we said, premature abstraction just adds complexity for no good reason. So, first, avoid platforms for truly unique requirements. If some functionality is genuinely specific to one single context, and there's really no realistic chance it'll be reused elsewhere, just build it as a feature.
Like what?
Maybe some highly custom reporting needed for a very niche compliance requirement, or an integration with a legacy system that only one specific business unit uses. Platformizing that probably doesn't make sense.
Right, don't over-engineer.
Second, wait for proven demand. We touched on this, but it bears repeating. Platform investment should follow demonstrated need from at least two real use cases, with teams actually committed to using it. Solve real problems, not theoretical ones.
Don't build it just because you think they might come later.
Exactly. And third, you have to navigate the economic reality. Building an internal platform competes with using external SaaS solutions. Think Auth for Auth, Stripe for payments, maybe Mixpanel for analytics. There are great off-the-shelf options.
So build versus buy.
Essentially, you have to ask, does building this internally give us a real competitive differentiation that's specific to our business? Calculate the ROI carefully. Compare the cost of internal development, including ongoing maintenance and opportunity cost, against using an external service. Sometimes buying is smarter.
That's a critical check.
Yeah.
So what's fascinating here is the source also talks about why platform initiatives often fail. And it's maybe not for the reasons you'd first think.
Indeed. Most failures, according to the source and what we often see, are organizational, not technical.
Organizational, how so?
Well, platform teams can become disconnected from the actual needs of the product teams they're supposed to serve. They might build these technically beautiful, elegant abstractions.
They're actually harder to use than just building it yourself.
Precisely. Or the governance around using the platform becomes too bureaucratic and actually slows down feature development instead of speeding it up. And then you have the resistance we talked about, the not invented here attitude, or teams just being afraid of depending on an internal service they don't control.
And the solution goes back to what you said earlier.
Largely, yes. That 30% time embedded with consuming teams is huge, making sure the platform APIs are genuinely simpler and faster to use than the alternative. Constant communication and feedback.
So assuming you navigate all that, you get it right.
Yeah.
What's the long-term payoff? We're talking about that compound effect, right?
Exactly, that's the real goal. Platform thinking creates this exponential return through systematic reuse. But it takes time and adoption, the initial investment phase. It often feels slower than just banging out features because you're designing for multiple use cases, thinking about integration, documentation.
But then it pays off later.
That's the compound effect. It becomes visible when teams need to build new features and discover large parts of the required functionality already exist as platform capabilities. So instead of rebuilding foundations, they can focus their energy on the truly differentiating parts of the user experience.
And we've seen this play out historically, right? The examples you gave earlier.
Definitely. Think about Netflix's rapid international expansion. That was possible because core capabilities, recommendations, streaming tech, user management were reusable platforms. Launching in a new country was about localization and content deals, not rebuilding the entire product from scratch.
And Amazon turning its internal infrastructure into AWS. That's the ultimate platform leverage story, isn't it?
It really is, building internal capabilities so effectively that they become a massive external business. And this all leads directly to the need for certain cultural prerequisites. Platform thinking doesn't happen in a vacuum. The organization's culture has to actually value and reward long-term thinking over just hitting short-term feature quotas.
How do you foster that culture?
It often starts with metric changes. You need to reward teams not just for shipping features, but for building reusable capabilities that other teams actually adopt and benefit from. Things like platform adoption rates, those reuse multipliers we talked about, maybe improvements in developer productivity across teams. Those need to factor into how success is measured.
So change what you celebrate and reward.
Exactly. And critically, leadership commitment. This
Yeah.
is absolutely non-negotiable. Building a platform often takes, say, 25% to 50% more initial effort than just building a single-use feature. And the real value might not show up for months, maybe quarters,
Not weeks.
not weeks. So without strong, consistent commitment from leadership that understands and champions this long-term view, teams will inevitably default back to optimizing for immediate delivery pressure. They'll take the shortcut.
And the platform opportunities get missed.
And the leverage never materializes. That's where even the best technical intentions can fall apart. Lack of sustained leadership support.
Okay, so wrapping this up, platform thinking really feels like it's about shifting from just winning battles to actually winning the war, right? Converting those tactical feature wins into lasting strategic advantages. It boils down to a fundamental choice, doesn't it? Optimize for speed today, accepting the hidden costs of duplication down the line, or invest systematically in reusable capabilities for that compound leverage over time.
That's the strategic decision right there. What's your real competitive advantage? Is it just shipping individual features slightly faster than the next guy? Or is it building the underlying systematic capabilities that allow for sustained innovation and consistency over the long haul? Platform thinking fundamentally shifts the focus from just parallel feature creation towards building a system of capabilities that generates those compound returns.
So a final thought for everyone listening. Where are you seeing this pattern in your own work? Where are you, or different teams around you, building basically the same capabilities multiple times for different contexts? And what kind of compound leverage could you unlock if that effort was instead invested in creating reusable platform capabilities, freeing up time for maintenance and synchronization?
It comes back to Oakeshot's boundless sea one last time. You can't predict every storm or every destination on that sea. But you can choose to build the navigation capabilities, the platforms that let you move confidently and adapt quickly, even in unknown waters. While your competitors might still be stuck trying to leave their familiar, safe harbors, the platform choices you make or don't make today really do determine your speed, your efficiency, and your customer experience consistency tomorrow. It's worth choosing wisely.